Well, to be in this commercial experienced operation, you don't want to just grow a tree for a year and do nothing with it because you're at $0 for the year. What I'm suggesting with this method is once you start having a tree that hits that first leaf and is starting to go up into that second tier, and even if you already have a big tree, to go ahead and get them back about knee high. Shin high. This is really short. This is like a little sprout. By trimming that top off, like I do regularly, I'm trimming top. If I see a tree stretching, I'm popping tops. If I see a tree that's a single tree, or even last night, and I'll show you, this was a huge tree. I mean, it was 2 to 3 stories tall. It was a tree that I planted in St. Pete 7, 8 years ago, and I've been harvesting this tree at least once or twice a year. The last time I went to the tree, I didn't actually bring it back short. It was really, really tall, and it had about 2 or 3 big pieces off of it. I'm talking like I'm down here, right? And at the time, it was like really bushy up here, really bushy because I had came to it and it had been a year. And so it was really bushy up here and say like that first, second, third tier, the third tier, right? This is where now I'm literally in the tree. I'm inside the tree. In the third tier, I'm about 1 story high. I'm about 20 feet high in the tree, inside of the tree. And said, I said, you know what? I don't necessarily want to bring this back right now. This is a lot of work right now, but you know what I'll do? I'll thin it out and I'll get all these suckers off of it. So that's what I did, is I got the suckers off of it. So it was here in the third tier, first tier, then I had like 2 big pieces, 2 or 3 big pieces. And then from there, it started to really produce out a lot of branching from these 2 or 3 pieces in that third tier. What I did was I went ahead and I just took 1 or 2 or 3 off of that second tier, and I just left it with 2 big ones, 2 or 3 big ones. So if you have a big tree that has a bunch of bushiness, you can just pull the suckers off. Just pull those suckers off. What that's going to do, it's going to make these 2 or 3 get even bigger. They're going to get massive. Instead of all that energy going into making these little suckers that are off of here that are just going to be kind of flowing off, because that's what happens over time when you make the cut. It just bushes out with a bunch. But then, some don't make it. Some of these ended up forming flowers and getting drumsticks. But what I'm suggesting in the first 1 to 2 years to help make some income is to harvest it back. When you harvest it back, it splits to get a thicker, bushier tree. Once that starts to stretch, bring it back again. Now you're at your third tier at about here. Then when that splits and it starts getting really bushy down here, that's where you start taking off those suckers and you leave it with 2 to 3 major ones. And you can begin to form a thicker, bushier tree that ends up having hundreds, if not thousands, of drumsticks by the end of the first year, going into your second year. And during that time, you've already harvested down here. So now you're at, maybe 10 to 20 bucks off of that first harvest worth of greens that you're drying. And small little packet, maybe you get a little packet worth of dried greens. You can powder it. Maybe you get a little packet of powder. Then 30 days later, you cut it back again because it's already split. Now you're getting another $10 to $20. By the time you get through the first 6 months, you've already harvested it maybe 3 to 4 times. This is especially for the summer, right? This is summer growth. This is during that high end right now where we're at right now. Usually when I talk about this process, the start of it is April 1st, right? New Year's, New Year's. This is a farmer's New Year, April 1st. Only the fools don't believe that April 1st is not the new year. April 1st is the new year. In the almanac, farmers go by April 1st. So usually when I'm talking about something, I'm usually thinking New Year's is April 1st. That's when you plant your seeds. When your seeds are sprouted, now you're going into May. Now you're watering quite a bit, you're getting it big, and then possibly the rains start usually here like in June. Now going into July, we're just now starting to get our afternoon showers. And so that's about like at the peak is by June, July. And then by that point, like right now, I've already harvested all the plants that I sprouted in April. I've already harvested them back 2 to 3 times. I've already gotten full racks off of the, say, 75, 80,000 seeds that I've sprouted. I did 50,000 out in the field. I did 10,000 out in the pots over here. I did 3,000 in the greenhouse. I'm about to do another probably 10,000 in the raised beds in the front. And so by the end of the first year, you've already say maybe harvested it maybe 6 to even 10 times because you're coming by and every time it pops or every time it's starting to stretch, you're just bringing it back. And that way you're getting fresh greens all the time. When someone says, hey, why are my trees yellowing? My answer usually is because you didn't eat them fast enough because it looks good. That's when you want to harvest it. If they're turning yellow, you haven't harvested it fast enough. So that's why I noticed that once those greens out there from those little seedlings, they started to turn yellow down below at the bottom, those greens were starting to get old. The lifespan of the leaves are very short. That's why it's like, if they're yellowing, let's cut it back. If they're starting to yellow, especially if those lower ones, like these ones, like the whole time that this tree is growing up, it's got branches coming out. And every time that these start to yellow, they'll fall off. They'll yellow and they'll fall off. So then you end up getting just a tall stalk, right? As it grows up, you can see where those branches used to be because those are called the collars.
So on your seedling example, after the first set of leaves, you snip it, and then you start to see it shoot out from that.
Yes.
Do you just pull the 2 lower leaves off, branches off?
No, I don't really usually touch the lowers. They're going to fall off by themselves. I don't really
Yeah.
meticulously, especially with as many as I have. I'm really just making sure that I'm shaving the tops. Those yellow leaves will fall and fertilize the soil,
Yeah.
and then it's